You may worry about NSA spying on you or the FBI or the CIA or whoever, but those Fourth Amendment and other constitutional protections you have against, lawful search and seizure of your records and the privacy of your papers and such, Congress thinks they don't apply to them. Courts have no jurisdiction. Judicial Watch can't even ask questions about them or get answers about its questions. We can't see the documents. They do whatever they want. Take whatever document they want from you. Get your phone history, get your internet history, get your emails. Maybe they can start wiretapping you. Who knows? I love Judicial Watch because we get hold of an issue that's important that otherwise would never be pursued by the dishonest denizens of Washington, D.C. And specifically, Congressman Adam Schiff, the Democrat from California who ran the House Intelligence Committee and was one of the biggest corrupt advocates of the lies and leaks targeting President Trump on Russia, obviously was behind the impeachment hoax against President Trump on the Ukraine issue. And as part of that impeachment inquiry, that was a radical abuse of the impeachment power, an abuse of the president's civil liberties, and I'll tell you why in a sec. He issued secret subpoenas targeting Rudy Giuliani. And Rudy Giuliani didn't know about the subpoena, otherwise he probably would have objected. And he issued the subpoenas to, it looks like AT&T, I think. I'm not sure if there were other companies involved because we don't have it, which is the point. And of course, AT&T, they're not going to buck the mafia running Congress. And they gave them the records. And then what did Schiff do with them? He published the phone records. Which, because, if you get someone's phone records, you also get, in turn, phone material on people they talk to. So if I call you on the phone and my record's subpoenaed, they know I talked to you, and your record becomes subpoenaed as well, indirectly. And so they published the phone records of Giuliani, Devin Nunes, a sitting member of Congress, John Solomon, a journalist, Victoria Tenzing and Joe DeGeneva, two attorneys, and the president's other attorney at the time, Jay Sekulow, who was representing him in the impeachment issues and the issues that he was facing with the Mueller abuse. So what we did was we said, well, this is a radical abuse of power. Let's get some more information about this Star Chamber proceeding that issued secret subpoenas. And now, it was targeting President Trump. I mean, typically attorney-client relationships have privileges and are protected. It's part of your civil rights. They're not sacrosanct, and they can be overcome in certain limited circumstances, but only with the intervention of a court. Here, they just did an end run around that and violated the president's right to counsel by secretly taking his attorney's records. A disgusting abuse of power. Disgusting and dangerous, because it was about Trump. I don't want to understate that it wasn't about Trump. But what happened to Trump, if they can do it to Trump, they can do it to you. And Congress is asserting this right to do whatever it wants in terms of spying on you through subpoenas that will never see the light of day, at least be adjudicated by a court or given to you in a way to give you an opportunity to object to them before a court of law. And so we use a common law right of public access to government documents request to try to get these records. We ask Congress for them because Congress exempts itself from the Federal Freedom of Information Act, but our allegation is it's still covered by the common law, meaning it's just generally accepted. People have a general right to what the government information about what the government's up to. They don't need, quote, a federal law specifically authorizing it. It's just generally out there in the common law. It's part of the it's part of the air, legal air we breathe. And of course, Congress told us no. Schiff told us no. Pelosi's house told us no. And unfortunately, the lower court bought it. And so we were in the appellate court. So what were the arguments that the committee used, the Intelligence Committee and Schiff, to protect the records? They claimed sovereign immunity, which means they can't be sued because they're a certain government entity. The speech or debate clause privilege, which is a privilege which doesn't allow them to abuse the law, and certainly doesn't allow them to send a subpoena to a third party and then get it without any accountability, or get records about you that otherwise are private without any accountability or court scrutiny. Immunity from FOIA and transparency law generally. The records are, quote, secret. That Judicial Watch and the public don't need to see them. So they say you don't need to see these unprecedented subpoenas. You don't need to see them. So we appealed the decision that kind of blessed that essentially said that the court, that Schiff and the House, Nancy Pelosi, have, quote, an absolute, unquote, immunity from inquiries about the subpoenas. So our senior attorney, James Peterson, went before a 3-judge panel of appeals court judges here in the District of Columbia Circuit at the U.S. Court of Appeals. So just so you know, you may not follow these as closely as I do, even though I'm not a lawyer. I know what the process is. So when you make a federal claim, you're before a U.S. District Court judge. That's the standard federal court judge you may generally know about. And if you don't like what the court judge rules in that regard, you can take it up to the circuit court judges, the appellate court judges. And beyond that, the next level up is the Supreme Court. So we're before the 3-judge panel. And we issued the transcript because I think the transcript is very educational. So we'll provide a link to it below, the transcript of the appellate court argument. And Judicial Watch senior attorney James Peterson, who's been handling this case, Jim argued to the 3-judge panel. I'll quote Jim here. The case is about shedding light on unprecedented and illegitimate congressional subpoenas. The extraordinary subpoenas at issue represent a supposedly unlimited government surveillance power and an unlimited ability by Congress to, at their whim, to invade the privacy of any American. Congressman Schiff secretly subpoenaed the phone records of a number of private citizens from telephone companies. He did not provide notice to these individuals in advance that their phone records were being sought. He did not subpoena the phone records directly from the citizens. Instead, he subpoenaed the phone companies for the records, preventing any opportunity for the private citizens to seek court review, as would happen in any other case where the government is seeking this kind of information about any citizen. So you may worry about NSA spying on you, or the FBI or the CIA or whoever. But those Fourth Amendment and other constitutional protections you have against, unlawful search and seizure of your records and the privacy of your papers and such, Congress thinks they don't apply to them. Courts have no jurisdiction. Judicial Watch can't even ask questions about them or get answers about its questions. We can't see the documents. They do whatever they want. Take whatever document they want from you. Get your phone history, get your internet history, get your emails. Maybe they can start wiretapping you. Who knows? Now, how did the judges consider this case? I don't know. It's hard to tell. You can read the transcript yourselves. They certainly are considering it carefully, which is all we want, really, in the end, don't we? We obviously want a good decision. But we want a fair hearing. And I complain about the courts a lot, but we normally get fair hearings. Sometimes the results is preordained, but you get fair hearings. But here, reading between the tea leaves, it looks like the court was interested in this case. So, that's half the battle. In response to a House attorney's argument that the materials be kept secret to protect the privacy, they released the details of these records, and then they come back and say we can't give you the subpoenas themselves because of the privacy of these people whose rights we violated. One of the judges remarked, and sharing this obvious, you know, this obvious surprise at that argument. Well, I do think it's, if not ironic, noteworthy that one of the interests you've just put forward is the invasion of privacy, when the whole claim of Judicial Watch is that this committee invaded the privacy of private citizens in the first place. So what's going to happen? The court took the hearings over, and they're going to decide whether or not to overturn the decision below it or do something else, and hopefully we can get the records. To be clear, as I said, the Pelosi-Schiff House asserts it has an unlimited government surveillance power and an unlimited ability to invade the privacy of any American with zero accountability and transparency. The court should reject Adam Schiff's and Nancy Pelosi's corrupt cover-up of the unconstitutional subpoenas that abused the civil rights of then President Trump, Rudy Giuliani, journalists, and other American citizens. So I want to ask you something. Do you think it's outrageous that you're only hearing about this from me? Meaning Judicial Watch. If it weren't for Judicial Watch, no one would be doing jack about this. I saw in the news Matt Gaetz is facing some sort of scandal. He's being investigated allegedly by the Justice Department, who I don't trust to investigate jaywalking at this time. And of course, what happened is the House announced that they were going to do an ethics investigation into Matt Gaetz 3 minutes after the scandal breaks. Now, they've similarly been sitting on well-founded, good faith ethics investigation requests on Schiff for illegally leaking or improperly leaking classified information, confirming the existence of classified information, despite him being a senior official in the Intelligence Committee, and improperly communicating with witnesses in an effort to destroy Trump. And we have ethics complaints pending against Ilhan Omar over the marriage and tax and campaign scandals that she's been implicated in. Now, that ethics committee has done jack. They haven't done anything with those investigations, or whether they're not doing anything at all, as best I can tell. But Gaetz, immediately they go after him. And that only happens with the acquiescence of the Republican leadership, because the House Ethics Committee, unlike other committees in the House, is equally divided between Democrats and Republicans. And it's kind of a mutually assured destruction pact, because it ensures that the committee can only operate with the acquiescence of at least one member of the majority or minority, depending on who's running the House. So it doesn't matter who's running the House. So the Democrats can't investigate a Republican without at least one Republican, and vice versa. Republicans can't investigate a Democrat without one Democrat. Now, hopefully there are issues where that should not be an issue, but these are politicians sitting in judgment over the politicians. So it's an imperfect process, obviously, and it's one that the Constitution kind of defers to the House on quite specifically. But you can presume that House leadership allowed, because they are creatures of House leadership on that committee, those members to allow the Gaetz investigation to go forward. And they've made zero noise about the lack of House ethics action on Schiff, on Omar, and there are all sorts of other ethics issues. I mean, just think of Swalwell, now that I think about it. He's been implicated in potentially putting the entire House at risk as a result of a untoward relationship with a Chinese spy, communist spy. I'm going to always point out they're communists here. Not doing anything on it. And so where's the Republicans on this issue? Do they believe the House can spy on you? You hear anyone talking about it other than me, other than Judicial Watch? Of course not. And this is why Judicial Watch is essential, because we provide leadership. We stand in the gap. on these core corruption issues and core government accountability issues. As I often say, we do the heavy lifting, and it would never be done but for Judicial Watch. So pray for the wisdom and discernment that the Lord grants these judges the wisdom and discernment to come to the right conclusion and give us the documents. But giving Schiff terrible abuses of power as a member of Congress, it should be noted that only Judicial Watch is doing something about it. Not Congress, not Republicans, certainly not Democrats, and certainly not much the media isn't as well. So again, this is why I love Judicial Watch.
Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel to catch all the latest news from Judicial Watch.